for joining today for the Black Belt Global Ventures Studio online webinar. My name is Kana. I'm Senior Program Manager of Innovation Dojo Japan. 皆様、本日はお忙しい中、ブラックベルトグローバルベンチャースタジオのオンライン説明会にご参加いただき誠にありがとうございます。イノベーション道場ジャパンでシニアプログラムマネージャーを務めております、村瀬と申します。So today's webinar, we will cover what drives startup success and how we are going to apply the research findings into the actual startup creation. 本日のウェビナーではですね、オックスフォード大学の、研究であるサイエンス・オブ・スタートアップスをいかにスタートアップの、創造する、スタートアップの創造に実装するかについてお話しさせていただきます。So before I start, I would like to explain a few housekeeping rules. Let me share my screen. Just for a moment. So as you can see, this initiative is selected by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government SUTEAM initiatives. ご覧の通り、このプログラムは、今年度の東京都の STEAM 事業に採択された事業です。Today's webinar will mostly conduct it in English. So if you need a translation, please activate the translation by clicking the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom window and enable the translation and select the language you wish like to translate it. 本日のウェビナーはですね、主に英語で実施させていただきます。なので、字幕翻訳が必要な方はですね、この Zoom の下の方にある、CC のボタンをクリックして、翻訳に有効するにチェックをして、言語を日本語と選択させていただければ、我々が話していることがリアルタイムで翻訳されるので、ぜひご活用させていただければと思います。Please also note that today's webinar will be recorded and will be available as an archive. 今日のウェビナーは、録音させていただいており、アーカイブとして利用する予定ですので、その点ご了承いただければ幸いです。I'll quickly cover today's agenda. So we'll start from the introduction of the speakers. And then Professor McCarthy was going to talk about his research on the science of startups and how we are going to apply his research into the real startup creation. And then we are going to talk about the Black Belt Global Venture Studio program and talk how you can get involved in this program. We'll also allocate some time for Q&A at the end of the session. So feel free to type the questions either in Japanese and English in the Q&A box on the bottom. And we should be able to answer all the questions towards the end of the session. 今日のアジェンダについて簡単にご説明させていただきます。まず、スピーカーの紹介から始まりまして、マッカーシー教授からサイエンスオブスタートアップスの研究結果についてご説明いただいた後、いかにこの研究を今回のプログラムに適用するかについてお話しいただきます。で、その後ですね、我々の方からブラックベルトグローバルベンチャースタジオという今回のプログラムについてご説明させていただいて、最後に Q&A の時間を設けております。で、いつのタイミングでも結構ですし、日本語でも英語でも結構ですので、ご質問がある方は、この Q&A のボックスから、ご質問について、タイプいただければと思います。Alright. So I think I covered my part. So I will pass the floor on to Josh. And Josh, over to you.
Thanks, Kana. And hi, everyone. I'm Joshua Flannery. Please call me Josh. I'm the founder and CEO of Innovation Dojo Japan. I started my career working inside startups, firstly with a SaaS company in Australia. And I brought that company to Japan and learned that coming to Japan into a new market is actually a form of new venture building in itself, just for a new market and with new business models. Back in Australia, before that, I designed and led a venture studio called Founder Lab and set up a micro grant program for minimum viable products. And from that studio came companies like OneScope, which within its first 6 months out of the lab raised $1 million before being acquired. I've worked closely with founders who have built their first, second, and third startups before finding success, including companies like Forage, which started out on a completely different idea and ended up being selected by Y Combinator before being acquired, and the team at Foresight that was eventually acquired by GoPro. More recently, I joined one of Europe's best-known venture studio companies called Rainmaking, leading their Japan business. And with the team there, we built about 20 different proof of concept projects with Japanese partners. Now with Innovation Dojo Japan, I'm combining all these experiences together with Oxford University's Science of Startups and basically looking to systematically create data-driven, globally connected startups from the ground up under this Black Belt Global Venture Studio. Over to you, Itaru.
Thank you, Josh. Hi, everyone. I'm Itaru Ueda from Japan Tech Ventures. My background is in engineering, open innovation, and VC investment. I've worked in the electronics and automotive industries for more than a decade, and I spent another decade in venture capital industry across the US, Hong Kong, and Japan. This program is very exciting to me as a new approach that leverages the science of startups research. I hope we can create a new world together with you. Thank you. Paul?
Hi, everyone. My name is Professor Paul X. McCarthy. You can call me Paul. I'm based in Sydney, and like Josh, I have a background in entrepreneurship myself. Since from a very young age, writing software while I was at school with my high school colleague. I've been an entrepreneur, but also interested in the process of entrepreneurship. And more recently, as I'll explain later, with colleagues at Oxford, we've explored this in great detail.
Great. Thanks, Paul. So I will move on to Paul's session part, which is going to explain the science of startups. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Connor. So with the science of startups, our plan or our objective is to use data to try and improve and understand startup success. As I said, my background is 25 years experience in business technology and research. I'm co-founder of a startup called League of Scholars, a data science focused organization looking at mapping research around the world. And I'm co-founder of a new lab at Oxford called Science of Startups. This is us at the lab last year at the launch at the Rhodes Centre, which was a fabulous experience. And my co-founder on the left in the blue suit is Dr. Fabian Braceman. Science of Startups is focused on the economic drivers of startup success, but we're also looking at a range of other things. So trying to understand ecosystem level success. So how do we raise the level of productivity and capability of startups in areas, hubs like Tokyo and more broadly at a national level across Japan. This research started some time ago, nearly 10 years ago now. I worked at CSIRO, which is Australia's science agency, and we worked on a breakthrough project where we looked at the relationship between personality and occupation. And we had this paper published which showed that people in the same occupation have a remarkably similar personality footprint. It's based on data on over 100,000 people around the world. When we first saw the results, we couldn't believe they were true. And we looked at people that were in very different occupations, and we found there's this strong link between personality and occupation. And that led us to the question later, is entrepreneurship another sort of job? And is it simply another type of job? So this is our flagship paper. on the science of startups. It was published in Nature's Scientific Reports. It's been downloaded over 100,000 times worldwide. It's based on data looking at 21,000 startups worldwide and their success. It's had coverage in the world's media, including recently coverage in The Economist. The underlying theory is we call the ensemble theory. So it's akin to the idea of a multifunctional group of people, such as an orchestra, where people play different roles for a symphonic type performance. We all know that startup success involves many factors. There's factors that are at a product level. Can you build a better mousetrap? There's success at a market level. Is it a hot market? Is it an area of interest at the moment? And then there's the founding team. There's been a lot of work in product and market. So our focus for this exercise was to try and understand more about what role and how much of a role the founders play. We found three key findings. Founders are fundamentally different from successful employees. We found that founder personality is the key success factor in startup success. And we found that the biggest factor that drives success is the combination of founders in the foundation team. So this first key finding was that founders are rare. So our estimation is that only around 8% of people in the world have personalities that are aligned to being a founder. And doing a statistical test based on thousands of successful employees in hundreds of different occupations and thousands of successful startup founders, we found that you could distinguish between the two using personality features alone. Here you can see the results of the research. On the left, there's a figure which shows the results of a machine learning predictor, which job is to distinguish between successful entrepreneurs and successful employees using personality data alone. And we found that you can distinguish a successful entrepreneur, as you can see, with 90% success based on personality alone. That's just to say that entrepreneurs are different. Here you can see the actual features, personality features, and the two stripes are the successful employees and successful entrepreneurs in 30 different personality dimensions. And you can see the dark green stripe that we're pointing to shows that entrepreneurs have much higher adventurousness, which is one of the 30 features. Of course, there are other factors that affect startup success. Location, industry, timing, they're all linked. Location matters, and being in Japan is an advantage, we learn. Being in some locations is a disadvantage. Industry also matters, and age. However, when compared to personality, we found that personality traits were up to 5 times more predictive than these other factors like geography, industry, timing. Here's a figure which shows that relative comparison. So the blue bars at the top indicate the relative odds of success, called the odds ratio. So the odds ratio of various types of founder combinations, personality combinations, as you can see, are more than twice as likely to be successful. If you go down the figure, we've referenced some other data from other people's earlier research, and you can see other factors that are also important and significant are investor quality and investor network centrality. We'll talk about that a bit later too. Here we can see the top facets or subdomains, personality features that are associated with startup success, with openness in the facet of adventurousness being the top feature. Now, one of the things we found is that it's not just the facets themselves, but the facets in combination. So these personality features in combination. So we found that people with low modesty, for example, which is also, in other words, people with high confidence, were more likely to be successful. But that was combined with high degree of trust in others. A colleague of mine said that we'd found the formula for megalomania or narcissism, jokingly, but this realization that there's this combination of features, trust is actually a screen for narcissism. So trust in others combined with confidence is one of the key dual factors. There are other dual factors. So for example, people with high energy, drive or motivation, but they also need to have low anxiety, that combination of low anxiety, which is not always, you don't always see these dual combinations. So this is some of the unusual features of personality features of entrepreneurs. And lastly, cooperation and collaboration. So willing and keenness, openness to work with others, but also with discipline and focus as well. There are 10 out of 30 dimensions in the personality space that had a large effect size when looked at in terms of distinguishing successful entrepreneurs. But also we found another key finding was that there's not one type of entrepreneurial personality, but 6 different types. We found that there was a natural clustering of people around personality types. And we named these the fold, after, which is the 6 types being fighters, operators, accomplishers, leaders, engineers, and developers. And each of these is a different representation of what some people might be familiar with on the call, this idea that the ideal startup contains a hacker, a hustler, and a hipster. And we find that there are 2 types of hustlers or leaders and accomplishers, 3 types of hackers, and the hipster being the engineer. And that's often a industry expert, or in some cases, a scientist in a deep tech startup. Here's some more detail about the types of traits associated with each founder type. This is, you can refer to the paper if you're interested in more detail. And finally, you can see here that the combinations of multi-founder teams are more likely to succeed, and particularly ones that have these particular types of personality combinations. So we found that certain types of personality combinations work particularly well, and one of them being the third one you can see there, which is the hipster, hustler, and hacker combination. So the next steps for this program, if you are selected as an individual or as a team, we will, with our research backing, help you better understand your founder team strengths, both you and your team. And if you've already got a team, that can help with role and responsibility design, who does what. If relevant, we can fit you, we can find good matches in terms of co-founders. Plus, we'll also use our research and data to help understand ideal first hires, who you should be looking to hire as your first staff members, who might make ideal investors. Because remember, as we mentioned earlier, investor quality and investor network centrality is very important. another contributing factor to startup success. And also those first foundation customers, beachhead customers are so important. So I think that covers most of what I've had to say. Hopefully that's been helpful.
Yeah, very fascinating. Thank you, Paul. It's really exciting to it's our world first attempt to apply this Paul's research findings into the actual startup creation. So it's really, really exciting, and I hope you attendees today find it interesting and apply for this program. And for those who attended in halfway through, we have translated subtitles available if you click the CC icons at the bottom of the Zoom window. And we also will make this recording available as archive. And there will be a Q&A session at the end of towards the end of the session. So please feel free to type in questions at any time in any language. Hopefully it's either in English or Japanese. All right. So I'll pass on to Itaru-san to explain about the Black Belt Global Venture Studio. Itaru-san, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Kana-san. So, yeah, okay, so you are sharing the screen number 31, right? Okay, yep. So, yeah, thank you again. So I'll walk you through how the Black Belt Global Venture Studio works. And as Paul noted, our edge is the combination of the science of startups and the venture studio model. Here's the big picture. Our goal is to form high-performing funding teams and launch new startups in Tokyo, also welcoming overseas startups to set up Tokyo subsidiaries. This program is implemented under Tokyo Metropolitan Government's Tokyo SUTEAM initiative. So there is no participation fee, basically. The program runs from October 2025, just last month, to February 2027, about a year and a half. Along the way, we support team formation, provide non-dilutive funding of up to 1 million Japanese yen for POC and MVP development, and offer hands-on mentoring plus access to investors and corporates. Can you go to the next steps? Next slide. Okay, thanks. And this diagram shows our end-to-end process. Think of the studio as a safe, focused build space. And first, we scout entrepreneurs and engineers and researchers who want to bring their work into the real world, as well as startups aiming to grow from Tokyo. Next, we meet all participants, applicants, and create the best fit teams using the science of startups methodology. Sometimes pre-incorporation, sometimes existing startups relocating or expanding to Tokyo. During the program, we provide hands-on support, such as intros and networking with corporates and investors for open innovation and funding. Also, we provide POC and MVP development support, including up to 1 million Japanese yen in non-dilutive funding, as mentioned. By graduation, teams spin up entities and start operating. We keep in touch for mentoring and to continuously improve the SOS dataset with real outcomes. Yeah, next slide, please. Here's a timeline through the program closing in February 2027. By the end of November this month, we collect applications from entrepreneurs, researchers, engineers, and startups outside Tokyo as well. Then interviews are rolling. From December next month, we start team formation. This is one of the most critical steps, I think. Then we move into hands-on work, mentoring, partner introductions, and POC and MVP execution. We also plan demo day windows where you can present business ideas, prototypes, POC results, or fast products to corporates and investors, leading into pilots and investment conversations through 2026, and graduation by early 2027. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Itaru. So yeah, after all that, some of you might be wondering if this program is suitable for you, considering your background or your expertise or your experience or even your location. So this program is quite unique in that it's not limited to just one founder profile. So you don't need to have a full team or a finished business plan. Instead, if you're selected, we're going to help you build the team around you. So, for example, you might be a researcher in Japan with a promising invention or some intellectual property. You could be matched with a business co-founder who has market and startup experience. Another example might be that you're a business professional in Tokyo and you could be matched with an overseas startup and given a pathway to become the kind of country manager in Japan for them and be an equity partner in their Japan business. A third example could be that you already have a team and an idea, and you may have started validating it by yourself, but you're looking for someone technical or someone global to help grow the business. That's another scenario where you could be matched with someone via this process. Finally, you might be a researcher or an entrepreneur or a startup outside of Tokyo or even outside of Japan. And in those cases, you could be paired with talent based in Tokyo to help build your company from Tokyo. So in summary, whether you're starting from an idea stage, you already have a prototype, or you're already actually operating a startup overseas, our goal is to help you build complementary, high-performing founding teams backed by this data science that Paul's talked about, but also with hands-on venture building support from myself, Itaru, and our supporting team. Thanks. Next slide. So for some of you, you might already be aware what a venture studio is. But when we hear about startup programs these days, especially in Tokyo, it can be confusing. There are accelerators, incubators, R&D projects run by corporates everywhere. So what makes a venture studio different? The biggest difference is that a venture studio doesn't support startups, it builds them with you from scratch. So basically, we help co-create the startup with you, forming the team, putting a structure around the team, a legal structure, and also supporting fundraising as you launch and grow it. For overseas existing startups, this means that we'll be building that kind of company for you in Tokyo, but a localized version, right? So it'll be a cross-border venture build for you. Unlike R&D or university labs, we don't just validate the technology, we turn it into a fundable business. So with the financial support that we give up front, that 1 million yen, which is really a grant to help you cover some of those early costs of creating a minimum viable product or prototype. We also help you with connecting with the right legal services. And then beyond that, start helping you develop the business with local corporations and investors in our network. There's some interesting data too that supports that this particular style of program, a venture studio, is more efficient than building a startup on your own. So you can see some of this here where outside of a program, it takes on average 5 years for a startup to get to Series A stage. Whereas if you do it in a venture studio, it takes about half that amount of time. And due to the structure and data-driven decision-making support that the studio gives, globally, venture studios create value in about twice the pace. So it's much faster to create value than doing it out on your own. So if you're looking at metrics like internal rate of return, IRR, you get a much quicker return and a higher rate if you do it via a studio. And the studio also enables you to kill ideas early that are weak, which is a little bit more difficult if you're doing it on your own, just with a startup team. So instead of working on your own, basically you're surrounded with a team, and we're just as motivated for you to succeed because our KPIs and our results are measured on your success. What might be too good to be true is for our particular venture studio, the Black Belt Global Venture Studio, we don't charge any fees and we don't take any equity at all, which is pretty unheard of. So yeah, we hope that some of you grab this opportunity with us. Next slide, please. So I won't go on too long, but just to summarize, why should you join? We have this unique evidence-based methodology that Paul's spoken through. We're all about building high-performing, complementary founding teams. And the research shows that that is actually the #1 factor for your success. We even give some funding in the early stage to try your prototyping, proof of concepts out, and run pilots. You access our combined global investor networks. As you heard, Itaru is a venture capitalist, and between him and Innovation Dojo and Paul, we have a pretty robust network both in Japan and globally. And we have a great corporate network too in Japan. So as companies launching in Tokyo, we can quite easily help engage you with potential corporate partners from a very early stage. Who should join? So sorry to be a bit repetitive, but basically anyone who's looking to establish or join an early stage startup in Tokyo. People looking to commercialize a new business product or service, and researchers that might have an invention, but you haven't taken the step yet, or you don't have the confidence on your own to approach a potential business co-founder. Global and non-Tokyo startups, so you can be in different parts of Japan and looking to establish in Tokyo. You can use this as a platform to meet your Tokyo co-founders. And then leveraging our science of startups, have basically the ultimate team, not just with the advantages of a venture studio, but with the advantages of that data that Paul and his team at Oxford have basically provided to us. Over to you, Kana.
Thanks, Josh. It's a very thorough explanation, and I hope I motivate the participants today to apply. So please feel free to scan this QR code. This will direct you to the application page on the website. Alternatively, we will send the link after this webinar to the email address you registered to the link to this website. And I would like to emphasize again, so the whole idea of science of startups is to make a comparable complementary teams. So we would like to ask the diverse talent as possible to register for our talent pool so that we can make a stronger, complementary, successful startup team. And the deadline, important thing, the deadline is the end of this month, 30th of November, Sunday. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's see. Yep. And so we are going to move on to the, so I will say that English in Japanese as well. So, 先ほどのリンクから、ご応募いただけますし、あと、このウェビナーが終わってから、また、フォローアップの E メールで、リンク付きの、メールを送らせていただくので、そこからご応募いただけます。で、繰り返し、プレゼンテーションでも申し上げていたんですけれども、このサイエンスオブスタートアップスっていうのは、補完的なチームを作って、成功するスタートアップを作ることを目指すものですので、まだビジネスアイディアがないとか、私でいいのかなとか、そういう人も、たくさん応募していただきたいと思ってます。はい。Right. I think we got quite a few questions. All right, so I will go with the first one, and if one of you, the speakers today, could answer, that would be great. So the first question says, how does BBV assess infrastructure readiness when forming venture teams?
So I think, yeah, this series of questions are related to, how we assess the startups, right? Then I think basically, yeah, as Paul, explained, so we will select the team, and so we pick up startups according to start SOS methodology, basically. And another thing is, so we will assess the business model and market size and these kind of things, same as venture capitals. So this is the primarily answer from myself.
Yeah, just to jump in there. In addition, exactly as Itaru said, so it's a combination of maybe what a venture capitalist or another startup program would look at in terms of, if you've already got an overseas startup, looking at your traction, looking at the problem you're solving, the size of the market, all of that type of thing. But the unique thing is that we're putting this layer of science of startups analysis too, and it's about matching you for the new venture that you're building in Tokyo. So on one hand, we expect a lot of the applicants will not yet have a startup, so we're not necessarily going to assess them as a startup. They'll be assessed as an individual. But on the other hand, when it is a startup, we'll be looking at some of the usual things that an investor would look at. Hope that answers the question.
Right, thank you. Hope it answers the questions. And I think Collins had quite a few questions. Collins, would you like to talk? If that's your function. Sorry, I'm not quite novice. Or maybe I will read it aloud then. So Colin's first question says, how does BBV balance innovation with operational feasibility, especially in early MVP stages?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's a little bit of a how long is a piece of string question to a degree. Each case that comes into the studio will be different. In some cases, we will already have researchers with already maybe scientifically validated research, and they're looking to transfer that into a business. Those people will be assessed differently than, say, a business person that maybe doesn't have a specific idea, but they've been chosen because of particular personality traits that Science of Startups has identified. I think the main thing to note here is we will be forming the team before there is really an organizational structure. So rather than assessing both, we will be building it together with the team, except when it's in the case of an overseas pre-formed startup, where we'll be looking at how will we build a new type of company, a new type of organization, and localize what they've done, but with some additional people to make that work in Japan. So a little bit different to analyzing a startup to enter, say, an accelerator program where it's all about, how will they scale in the market they currently are. It's all about creating something from zero. Anyone else want to jump in? Paul, did you want to say something on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the next question from Collins is probably to you, Paul. What
Good.
role does stakeholder fluency play in team selection and venture success?
Yeah, well, I think that would show up in the personality features, but also, I mean, there's another question further down, I think, where someone asks about the process, a bit more trying to understand how we're going to assess this process and about the personality, sort of assessment. I mean, it's going to be a multi-stage application process. And the first stage is a simple questionnaire, 7 simple questions about, your motivation and experience in starting this venture and what it is, just sort of your vision, I guess. And from that, we're going to kind of triage applications to try and understand which ones we think have the highest potential for interviews. So then we'll do interviews based on the ones that we see have the highest potential.
Thank you. I think you covered Carlos' question as well here. So I'll move on to the next one. So question from Bob. We have teams in Australia, Japan, and Singapore. Do we need someone located in Japan throughout this program? If so, how much time commitment?
Yeah, good question, Bob. Does anyone want to take that, or I'm happy to? Yeah, okay.
Well, basically, so yeah, we got also another question related to location. Then, so basically, the people who hasn't established any entity. So that's the one of the eligibility. And for startups, basically, startups that doesn't have any offices or entities in Tokyo. So that's basically the eligibility of our program.
Thank you, Taro-san.
Yeah,
I
Josh.
think, that answers Bob's next question as well. He's asking whether Kansai will be eligible, but I think because it's the Tokyo government supported program, we would like all the supported startups to aim to establish an entity in Tokyo. But the location of the team members doesn't matter much. And next one, Phil Mohammed. Hi, during my PhD, I built a new biotech and pharma technology with a market potential of roughly 400 billion euros. Amazing. The proof of concept is complete and the prototype can be ready in 6 to 8 weeks. I'm based in Belgium and open to relocating, including to Japan right now. I'm focused on finding the right team to build it with. Sounds like perfect then.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
please sign up. I think just on the topic of biotechnology and let's say very deep med tech that might take a long time in terms of clinical trials or R&D. Unless you are right at the end of the research part of that, and you're looking to build a business on top of the technology that's already developed, I wouldn't recommend it unless you've sort of done the R&D piece. Because we only have a year and a half, we're not going to have time to wait for very deep biotechnology to be proven. But in the case of that scenario, it sounds like it's already ready on the shelf, so to speak, and it's more about building the business. And in that case, I would definitely encourage you to apply.
I think Mohammed
There's one of the-
raising hands.
Yeah, we've also asked Yeah, so sorry to interrupt. Yeah, this is also interesting and important thing for applicants. So basically, as Josh mentioned, so we are so sector agnostic. However, yeah, and also so from Colin, so we got similar questions like yeah, cloud security and so on. So yeah, as answered as mentioned, so stage agnostic. So yeah, you can apply. That's yeah, quick answer for you because we skipped that your question.
Right,
Yeah,
Mohammed.
yeah. So sorry, Mohammed.
No, I'm unmuted. So may I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, this is an accumulation of 27 years of experience. So I've been in science and technology for so many years. And during the PhD, by the way, it was with Kyosho University with Professor Kimizuka and Australia. So it was in Griffith and Germany and in Belgium. So actually, it was like a team of super intelligent people. We decided to build a project. And at the end, I got a PhD. So it was wow. So what we have, the research is done. We did the POC and we're ready to go. I can understand the regulation burden for health and pharma, but we can start with the quality control, which is 2.5 billion euro annual just here in Europe. And the regulation can be in within 6 to 9 months. My main issue, my main problem that I don't have a team and I am a science guy. I'm not commercial. I can't talk about money. I love making money, but I'm a lab rat.
Yeah.
That's very self-aware, Mohammed. And I think one of the things that we've realized through our research is that we might be able to offer unique insights for people like yourself who are deep tech founders. And, you know, the research shows that, you know, it's best to have this complementary capability. And you can see through deep tech companies like BioNTech that have done really well. You know, they do have this complementary team. So I think, yeah, no, it sounds like you're just absolutely perfect. So yeah, please apply. I think that sounds really, and self-awareness already is a very good sign. So that's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there are a few questions from Kato-san. I understand your strength and differentiator is a support from scratch. How many experts or teams do you have to make that happen? And also another question is, I'm the supporter of the international startup coming into Japan market. They've already have traction, and after Series B, is it okay for them to join your program as well? If you have conditions, I would like to know where I should check, maybe a website.
Yeah, so a few questions to unpack there. Itaru, do you want to jump in first?
Well, so yeah, if the startups haven't set up the office or a legal entity in Tokyo, then basically, so we accept the application. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's the condition. Josh?
Yeah, I agree. I think it really depends on what the needs are in terms of having a new team to build the business in Japan. So I would definitely encourage you to apply. I think there was a question there around you know what's the size of the team and such. And so you know we're a combination of three different organizations. So we're actually a joint venture ourselves. There's the Innovation Dojo, and which has about 7 or 8 people inside it, and then Paul's group,
League
Science
of
of
Scholars.
Startup,
Yeah.
and then also Itaru, and then besides that, you know, we have our existing networks. So we've been running programs, different type of programs, but supporting startups for many years. And so we have, you know, angel investors, groups of corporate venture capitalists, large corporations that are looking to align with particular startup technologies And so rather than the size of the team being important, it's more the access to those functions that are existing in the Japan ecosystem. I think that's the strength that we have. Hope that
Thank you,
answers.
Josh. And from
And
the
also, so yeah, let me add one thing. So in the backside, so if needed, so we will hire part-time mentor if needed. So yeah, that's an additional thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah, thanks.
specific to your team. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And as you can see from the speaker's introduction, we have a very, very rich experience and network. So, yeah, you can rely on us. All right. There's a really good question from Clement. What is the level of commitment required to participate in the program? Can full-time PhD student who conduct research participate?
Yeah. So I think the short answer is yes. And so to give a bit more of a picture of how it would work, there's going to be different roles in each company, and as the company grows and evolves over time, those roles will evolve and probably become a heavier load as the company starts to get serious. So I think for PhDs, it is very possible to join as someone contributing as the in-house technical co-founder. And then as the program helps to validate that in a commercial sense, you'll be able to make decisions on whether you contribute more or whether you need to add more people to your team in able to sustain the business. And that also goes for people who are currently employed. So you may be working in a corporate situation, and you want to test the waters outside of work hours and on weekends, and depending on how flexible your employer is, you're also able to join and contribute to a team. So it's very flexible, and it comes down to making an agreement with the founding team that you're matched with.
Great question. Thank you. Another question from Liam. What industries or sectors do you believe BBV can make the biggest impact in, particularly with Tokyo's and Japan's evolving innovation ecosystem?
Someone other than me want to answer? Jump in,
Well,
Itaru.
So
Yeah.
from us, so we are, yeah, as mentioned, so we are sector agnostic. So anyone or any industry can apply us. And so actually, I really don't have good answer for this question, honestly speaking, because so Tokyo is a big city, and I think one of the biggest city, and there are many, industry we have in Tokyo. So I think not specific industry, but many, portfolio of industry is important.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that, Ataru, is my view is that comparative advantage is really important. There's a lot of work in economics around reveal comparative advantage and its benefits to people, to individual firms and also regions. And you can see from the success of startups like Spybar, which is in the materials science space, is aligned with Japan's industry strengths, comparative industry strengths, and the optic fiber company, carbon fiber companies, are top of the world in that space. So I think one of the things that would be advantageous in my view assessment would be if your business is aligned with an existing industry strength, particularly if there are global players in Japan or in Tokyo specifically in that industry or in that area, in an adjacent area.
Yeah, I'd agree with both Itaru and Paul. The way I think about it is if there is a potential customer as a Japanese corporate, then probably your technology is going to be relevant for the program. one of the strengths we have is our link to Japanese corporations. So I would say, if anything, probably B2B technologies would be preferred. And then, as Paul was saying, aligned with the industry. So we can help get you those early customers or early proof of concept partners.
Thank you. And I think it's last but not least question. Will there be any in-person events during the program? Are there any weekly check-ins or anything to provide structure to the program? Also, what's the thinking of currently employed participants?
Okay, so so we will have a couple of demo day. So that's gonna be hybrid, so in person and online. So we are thinking to hold that in one of a venue in Tokyo. So that will be in-person event. So still the date and the exact place is not set. But maybe next year, so the middle of next year. So we'll have that kind of event.
Yep. And on the top of that, as this is the Tokyo government-backed program, we have access to use their facilities like Tokyo Innovation Base. So we can use that as to host a workshop or for the startup member to use the facility for free for the catch up, and we can be there to do the conduct the mentoring or the set up the networking or meeting with the investors. So I think, but some of the team might stay hybrid model as well. So some of the team member might be overseas, like the diagram Josh explained. So we will be flexible in that regards. And I think we already covered the currently employed participants question before. So I think that's all. Yep. Anything to add, Josh?
Just last one. Yeah, I think there was a question among those on structure and regular catching up. So I think that comes to the point of being a bit different than an accelerator where you have a cohort meeting every week together. This is more like you're actually building an individual company. So those regular meetings will be with your team members, and we will jump in and support. But if you think about it, this is going to be 5 or 10 in individual projects that will be turning themselves into real businesses. So it will be up to the founders to set their regular communication days and times, and we'll always be there to support and provide, the space or, facilitate if there's need for introductions or any sort of help with internal discussions. You can bring us in and consider us a kind of another member of your team.
Right. Perfect timing. So I would like to put up the QR code link once again. I would like everyone to apply, even if you're just interested and not sure, it's okay to register to be on a talent pool. We put it as a pilot phase together with the Tokyo Metropolitan government this time, but we might be able to reach out in the future when you're ready. So I will recommend you to register your profile in the website. All right. I think just a sec. Yeah, I think that's time. So sorry, stop. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I think if you have any further questions, I will send out the email after this Zoom, and we are very happy to answer any questions you might have. So thanks everyone. Thanks again, everyone, for attending today. Hope we can see sometime soon in your application. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah.